Whoa! Good evening, Hull! That is just about the most extraordinary reception I've ever had anywhere. Thank you so very much indeed. In fact, I mean, it's so overwhelming, I'm almost feeling shy. Well, not really. Do you know, I spent many, many years, and I've been to Hull many times and campaigned, I spent over a quarter of a century on a political campaign that everybody told me was a complete and utter waste of time. Nigel, you're wasting your time. Britain will never leave the European Union. But you know what? I kept on going. I kept on going year after year after year. And you know why? Because I believed in this country. I believed that the incredible sacrifices of those that went before us so that we could be a free country should be honoured. And that the best people to govern Britain were the British people themselves. That's what I fought for. That's what Brexit was. And, you know, what joy it was to stand. So the Brexit vote happens, everyone's in shock, especially in Brussels, where they're in meltdown. Boring. And they announce, boring, boring, boring. Come on, you've got to be a proper protester to get that from me. The worst I'm outside I saw earlier. But you know what? You know what? There's more of us in here than there were of them out there, that's for certain. Anyway, so the European Parliament announced there'd be an emergency debate. I thought, well, this is quite a moment. I thought, 3 o'clock, it'll be me and Jean-Claude Juncker, the Commission President. You might remember the man who was rarely sober. I liked him very much because he made me realise I hadn't got a drink problem, you know. Anyway, so I think, well, I'll get in to the top of the Parliament at about 2.5 minutes to 3. It'll be full, and I can make my modest entrance in, you know. And to my surprise, Juncker was there already, standing in the well of the Parliament. And as I went down, he sort of put his arms out, and he sort of gave me a hug. They do quite a lot of that in Europe. And he whispered in my ear, "You bastard." But he didn't mean it nastily. And I was able to stand up and say, when I first came here 17.5 years ago, you all laughed at me when I said, "You're not laughing now, are you?" Well, that wasn't the end of the story because, as you know, the British establishment wouldn't accept it. The agony went on for year after year after year. We had that ghastly little pipsqueak Bercow in the Commons doing his best to disrupt it. People like our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. Oh, and I thought Hull was a Labour area. No, you missed the point. Was a Labour area. It's going to be a Reform area. In the end, it happened. And we stood in Parliament Square on the 31st of January 2020 with 100,000 people. And I did the countdown, the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The obligatory fireworks. I mean, there's no event worth doing without fireworks, obviously. And that was it. We were out. And I thought, you know what? After all these years of struggling, of fighting the establishment, of really giving up a vast amount of my life, you know, it's now time for me to say goodbye. I've done it. I've done it. The British people are now back in charge of their own country, and I'm going to retire. And so I did. I stepped away from politics, and life was good. More time to go fishing, more time down the pub. more time with family, spent a lot of time helping get GB News up and running and off the ground. But I just could not abide the fact that whilst we had control of our country back, it was being run by people who frankly didn't believe in the Brexit mission, who told us a total pack of lies and failed to deliver it. And I think that 2019 to 2024 Conservative government goes down perhaps as the most disappointing, the most dishonest government we've ever had in the history of our nation. And so I thought, well, Labour are going to win the election. They're bound to. But do I come back? Do I get back involved in the game? And I agonised over it because I knew that it meant getting back into politics would be everything. And that day, I was coming up on the 3rd of June from Kent into London in the car, thinking, why am I doing this? Do I need my bumps felt? And I thought, why am I doing it? And I came up with 3 words. And they've become the emblem. They've become the slogan for this party. I came back into politics because I believe in family, community, and country, and I see those things as being under threat, and we're going to fight for all of them. We're going to fight for good values. Our country has never been in graver problems internally. We are getting poorer. The average Brit is getting poorer. The cost of living is destroying the ability of many families to live reasonable lives. We are in societal decline. Crime completely out of control. Here in Hull, crime 25% higher than the national average. People scared to go out after dark. The police force, who seem to be more concerned about what we say on social media more concerned than maybe the Labour MP for Runcorn, who at 2 o'clock in the morning doesn't just strike someone in the street, but hits him 5 times on the ground. And what happens today at appeal? We're told the prison sentence is to be suspended. I guess that's because he's part of the Labour Party and part of the ruling class, and we saw it after the riots last summer. Different groups of people being treated differently. That is not what this country is all about. I will not live with 2-tier policing and 2-tier justice. Everybody must be treated the same. And this morning, we've had the immigration figures. Oh, yes. What do they tell us at every election? We're going to drastically reduce the numbers. What do we get today? Well, here's the really shocking thing. There is over 100,000 people claimed asylum in Britain last year, but only 32% of them came on boats. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? The rest have come in the back of lorries. The rest have come and overstayed their welcome. Some have come as students, and they all give a reason for claiming asylum. The boats are a massive problem, and they highlight the unfairness of what is going on in this country. I was checking in at Heathrow last week. I was off to America for a couple of days. I've got a friend over there that's doing all right. And the guy that checked me in, Indian bloke, he said, Mr. Farage, stop the boats. He said, we came here legally, we integrated, and we worked damned hard. It's not fair. It's not right. And then we get the legal immigration figures, and blow me down, nearly another 1 million people have been given permanent visas to come into Britain. Our population has increased by over 10 million in the last 20 years, and you wonder why the roads are busy. You wonder why you can't get GP appointments. You wonder why in some parts of the country, kids age 5 are bussed 20 miles to find a primary school that's actually got room for them. And you wonder why our kids can't afford houses or get houses, or the social housing waiting list is as long as it is. The increase in population, this massive increase in population, has actually damaged the quality of life of every single one of us in this country, and both Labour and Conservative are to blame. And even the argument, oh, Nigel, don't worry, everyone that comes is coming into work, so they're contributing. We learned that the last 3 million that came in under the Conservatives from around the rest of the world, of the last 3 million, only 22% are working. The rest, you and everybody else, is paying for. This is making us poorer. It is unacceptable. It has nothing to do with race or prejudice. It has to do with plain common sense. And we will. Believe me, if we make the progress I think we can make, we will deal with it. And then there's the cost of living and jobs. Unbelievable. I met a chief executive the other day, a man that employs a lot of people. He said in 1990, my energy costs were exactly the same as America. Today, my energy costs are 6 times that of what an American factory is paying. We have closed down all of our aluminium smelting. We have closed down most of our chemical production. We have closed down virtually all of our primary steel-making capacity, Scunthorpe just about surviving on the other side of the river. We are deindustrializing, and those well-paid jobs and those skills go off to India, go off to China. China. Sorry. Can't help it sometimes, you know. And so steel is made under lower environmental standards than here, and then the product is shipped back to us. And it's the same with gas that we need to burn to back up when the wind turbines aren't working. There's a massive gas field in Lincolnshire. Should we not produce our own steel? Should we not produce our own gas? Should we not produce our own oil? Should we not encourage new technologies and old technologies? But why don't we start to put the interests of our country and our people and start putting Britain first with absolutely everything? Now, there is so much more, of course, that needs to be done. But I'll tell you this. In some ways, we are the most realistic group of people in the country. We recognize that, frankly, the country and its values and that everything it's ever stood for is going down the tubes. We know it. And I think many of us fear that if we don't bring back decent values and decent standards and make youngsters understand that actually hard work is a good thing,